glass over there.
Yeah. I do like your shoes.
Yeah, lovely,
Very
eh?
nice.
Yeah, I really dressed up for the radio today. How are you?
Yeah, very good. How are you?
Great.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Loz Guest. On their 50th anniversary in 2012, the Rolling Stones, with the support of archive footage and interviewed by director Brett Morgan, retraced the first 20 years of their career in Fire Hurricane. I got to talk at length with Ronnie and Keith from the band and started the conversation by asking Ronnie whether he liked the documentary.
Yeah, I really did, actually. It was really well cut.
Yeah.
And I call it Rocky 1. There's bound to be a Rocky 2 and a 3 and a 4.
There always is.
Yeah.
But I've seen the Scorsese, what was it? Was it Shine a Light?
Yeah.
Which effectively covered was that across a gig or a night, wasn't it? I think it was
That
across...
was the Beacon Theatre.
Yeah.
I remember it was right in the middle of a tour. We had 5 days off and we had to do a film. It's like, oh, God, just when I thought I was going to put my feet up. So we were all pretty knackered during that, but... It was during the course of 2 nights of filming they hacked it together.
The Crossfire Hurricane, that's more of a look back at the past 50 years, is that correct?
Yeah. No, it really is a good look right from the early days when they were doing cover versions, and then it shows the early songwriting grains coming in and the band all putting their little bit in and trying to be a band. You know, it was great. And then it goes slowly into... early performances through the years in the early 60s and through into Brian Jones, through Mick Taylor. And then just when I thought the film was over, I come in and you think, there you go. And everyone goes, oh, what a breath of fresh air. But hopefully I did bring a bit of humour and
of course.
Longevity to the band.
Do you remember when Mick asked you to join the Stones?
Yeah. It was around 74 because I was there at a Robert Stigwood party when Mick Taylor leaned across me. We were at a party and he told Jagger, I'm leaving the band. And Mick said, was he serious? I said, I think he was. And anyway, Taylor got up and left. And Mick was in shock and he said, what am I going to do? Will you join? And I said, of course I would in a New York minute. But and he said, well, I don't want to split faces up either. I said, no, nor do I. So he said, if I get desperate, can I ring you? And I said, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So a year later, I got the desperate call.
And you haven't looked back?
No. I was already expecting, even when I was at college, you know, that I was going to be in the band. Even before I knew them, you know, I knew I was in the band.
Well, here's a question I'm sure you've been asked before. What's it like to be in the Rolling Stones? How amazing is it?
I don't know. We're still trying to find out. I am.
All these years later.
Yeah, it's great. I think that's a lot to do with the longevity. Every time we get together, like we just got together in Paris for these rehearsals, it's like the chemistry and the magic is brand new experience to all of us again, and it's like getting to know each other again and seeing it more focused, which I'm doing these days. It's like a brand new slant on everything.
Yeah.
Even Keith turning around to me at rehearsal and going, well, that wasn't a bad song. You know, it might be a song like Brown Sugar. He's like, hey, you know, that's not bad, is it? I'm going, no, it's not too bad, is it, Keith? It sounded all right. Let's play it again. So there's still that enthusiasm. You know?
It seems like quite a unique beast and something that's very difficult for you all to put down, if you know what I mean. I imagine that, you know, you have your downtime. For example, you've got your radio, which, oh, by the way, congratulations, because I know you're loving that.
Brilliant, I'm loving it, yeah.
And you picked up a couple of awards there.
Yeah.
As well.
5 awards.
Yes. Incredible, that's great.
It's great, and then it went on to the Sky Arts, which I really enjoyed as well. Just an extension of the radio show. But things like that keep me occupied, sobering up, keeping me sober, and also keeping my chops together between, you know, I played with Dr. John, I played with Maceo Parker, did little faces stuff at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Just so my fingers don't hurt at rehearsals, you know. And Mick has been keeping these little gigs together, keep the throat, because you've got to keep it warm. You've got to keep amused, otherwise you don't want to have to go through all the pain of cutting your teeth again.
No, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm very pleased with the rehearsals in Paris, and so far I'm doing these boards every day, you know, day 1, day 12, you know, of every song we play. I think we've got 80 songs so far.
Wow. Well, you've got quite a few to pick.
Yeah, we're not even finished yet, so we've got loads more to do. And we're going to do a little club gig in Paris next week. We don't know where yet, but we've got to take it into practice. We've got to go and turn up as the Cockroaches somewhere in some little club.
Who's invited to that?
Anybody that happens to be around and feels it in the air. Like
I can be in Paris next week.
There's a lot of people walking towards that club. I think I'll go and have a look what's going on.
Because
we won't be, obviously, builders of stones.
As far as the Stones go, like I was saying, you do have periods of time where you can concentrate on your art or your radio or whatever. You all go off and do separate things. Who calls the summit meeting, if you know what I mean, for you guys to get back and go out on the road? And I've got this image of like a bat signal.
Good point, yeah. I suppose it comes from the old connection of Mick talking to our lawyers or saying, how do you feel, Keith, or something. If those two are ready, then Charlie and me will be boom, boom, ready, you know. But it needs the green light from one of those two. Keith will go, come on, it's about bloody time, I feel like a fish out of water not being in front of an audience and playing live. Because we find it very hard to live normal, everyday lives when we're not playing, because the last 5 years it's been like every night at 9 o'clock, where's the bleeding gig? And I wake up about 9 o'clock at night and, you can't get to sleep till about 3 in the morning because you're constantly thinking about going on stage.
And doing the next gig. You've called the dates you're doing 50 and counting, I gather. What are you counting towards? How far do you think
Well, we thought it was an innocent phrase of like, and counting, 50 and many more to come.
Yeah.
And there's some reporters are going, counting the money more like, ha.
Yeah.
But we didn't look at it like that, as regards to ticket prices. Sounds all right to me,
Yeah.
As Keith said, sounds about right.
Sounds about right.
Whatever the prices may be. It costs a bloody fortune to rehearse anyway and put the stage together. So.
Yeah. Well, I meant really in terms of years, 50 years have now passed, and it's like, how many more?
Well, we could have said 50 years and not counting, but it sounds better when you say 50 years and counting. Like, okay, let's see how many more years we can notch up. Maybe 60, maybe 70, 100.
Was there always the idea that there'd be a celebration around the 50 mark? I mean, it does seem like a nice round number.
No, nobody knew we'd be going that long.
Yeah.
So it's just a surprise to us, being pioneering rock and roll for 50 years. I mean, classical music has done it, and blues has done it, all the old boys... playing plugged into their kidney machines and Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters. But first time rock and roll's reached this ripe old age.
It must have been an amazing ride for you. From
it has been, and it's a continuing adventure which I really enjoy. Well, we all do.
I remember seeing you on. This is a bizarre reference, but on the One Show.
Chris Evans.
Yeah, and you got to drive a monster truck.
Yeah,
through the car park of
that was
the BBC.
Pretty surreal.
And I thought
I put my back out that day because I was leaning out the window and going, right, go over that ledge, land on top of that car. What?
I thought only a Rolling Stone could do that.
I quite enjoyed it.
Well, I'm sure you did. I've seen you on Top Gear.
I had a great message from Eric Clapton after that, and he went, well done, Ron, I'm really proud of you. I think that was in my first year of sobriety as well, so Eric was like, well done, join the club.
And how's that going, the sobriety?
Great, I'm in my third year now.
Congratulations.
So I don't even, I've been there, done it.
Yeah, congratulations.
Long may it last.
Everything much clearer. I think I saw an interview you did on an Irish TV station once, and you were saying, I never had a hangover because I was always... topping up.
That's right. It was never out of my system, so I never knew what it was like. I used to think I was sober, but I'd always have so much in my system that it would just, one would drink the next day and spark it all off again, and I'd drink from morning to night every day and think that's what people did. Because when I grew up, all of my dad and all of my family, all the Bargees and that's what they did. My granddad always had a bottle of rum sticking out his top pocket, and my dad was, he was a test pilot for Seagrams and like Dean Main. He used to sing and always be drunk. And I thought that's what people did, So it was a real new experience, sort of starting life at 60.
Well,
which I did, you know, and I suddenly, when I sobered up, I thought, hang on a minute. So I left home, changed my life, got my new girl, Sally, now she's lovely.
Good afternoon, and how are you?
I'm very well.
Good. Did you enjoy the premiere last night, Crossfire Hurricane?
Yeah, man, it was... the weirdest thing was that when I walked out, I felt that the movie was still going on. Because it was a continuation of what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought Brett Morgan did an incredible job with finding the footage and the way that editing and making the story move along and not getting like hung up too much, you know, with girlfriends and stuff. Yeah, I thought it was a rocking movie. You know?
Do you feel? I mean, if I was in your position, I would think my life, you know, as a movie most of the time. It's been an amazing life. Right? It's been an amazing life, though, hasn't it?
It has. I mean, I suppose the other thing that half the time that watching the movie, you really weren't aware that there were cameras around. You know, I mean, you're just doing what you necessary to do, and so that's kind of the weirdest thing about it. Was like, I didn't know there was a cameraman in the room. You know, it was very interesting because I mean, you're seeing bits of your life that you didn't know were actually captured, and there. At the same time, it did. I mean, yeah, that's the way it was. That's probably the way it is.
Well, I got to know someone fairly recently that you might remember from the past. A lady called Corinthia West. Corinthia, and she has done an art exhibition recently with lots of photos from the people she used to hang about with back in the swinging 60s.
Yeah,
and you guys are on so many of those photos. And she was saying it was a wonderful time, almost of innocence with regards to the media, because nowadays, you know, if you've got a photo, you've got a camera phone, it's on the net within 5 minutes. But she had some wonderful photos of you guys just hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, I mean, and she should know probably as much as I do that 60s, I mean, I know, you know, when people talk about it, I go, yeah, you know, but in retrospect, thinking about them, it was I tell you what, it was the generation that grew up after the war. You know, there was that. I mean, I grew up. I mean, you know, my mum, my dad, family, I mean, all grown ups were saying, "Well, before the war," you know what I mean? It was like, and you were dying to get away from the bloody war. You know, it was like such a. Obviously, I mean, it was an enormous event. And it's not something anybody's going to forget. But as a kid, you're growing up and you're going, war? What war? You know what I mean? And I once talked to John Lennon about this, and he said, this is what we were all trying to get away from, wasn't it? Before the war. And I suppose in the 60s, that's when the testosterone hit in for that generation. It was... forget about the war, you know, I mean, let's get on and suddenly create a whole new world in a way, which the 60s, in its strange way, for better or worse, did, you know. I mean.
I've got an anecdote I'd like to pass on to you.
Pass it on.
It's going to sound like it's a joke to begin with, but it's not. A man walks into a bar. And he sees this woman, and she's sitting by the bar, just by herself. And he sees her, and he thinks to himself, "Wow, she's amazing. She's beautiful. I need to meet her." It's one of those love at first sight moments. So he has I
know the feeling.
Yeah, he has a quick drink, bit of the old Dutch courage, and he walks up to her, and he says, "Beatles or Stones?" And she says, "Well, I don't know. I'm really not sure what I'd say to that, or how I would choose." And she thinks about it for a while, and then he says, "Well, put it this way. Do you want to hold my hand, or do you want to spend the night together?" And it turns out they spent many nights together, and they've just celebrated their 30th wedding anniversary.
Well, you know, I mean, good luck on them. You know, I hope they have many kids too.
Yes,
you know?
yes. But it's it's that kind of story that makes you. I don't know.
No, in a way, I mean, I understand. Yeah, it's a good joke in itself, but at the same time, it does sort of encapsulate that generation. I spent many nights with John Lennon, especially in those days, and he was wishing he was the Stones because the Beatles were stuck with the good guy image, you know, and the mock tops and all of that, and they
you were the
I mean, they couldn't. There was the only obvious path for another band was to, you know, as I said in the movies, the white hat and the black hat, you know. And at the same time, I would say that the Beatles were probably far more hedonistic than we were.
Yes.
So they had to do it in private, and you know, but it's a strange thing.
Well, their film, The Magical Mystery Bus Tour, whatever it was, I mean, that was crackers. And it was just, you had to be on drugs to understand it, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And at the time, I was totally straight, of course.
Yes. Are you surprised to have made it to the 50-year mark, the Rolling Stones?
I suppose in retro, it's amazing that any band can hang together that long. But I'm not surprised, no. It's what we do. I've never felt that there was an ending to this thing. Once it got started, you know, through thick and thin and everything like that, and the ups and the downs. I'm a lousy plumber. I mean, this is, I can't do anything else. I mean, and we, you know, I guess we struck a chord somewhere. I mean, and within myself and with millions of people out there. I am amazed in a way, but I've never been amazed by it, like, well, how can you do it? Or, you know, you're not. I've never felt any. Except once, maybe in Canada, you know, and I thought, oh, God, I'm selling the band down the tube here. They're going to put me away for life. But apart from that moment, which is when I cleaned up of the stuff, no, the band has always been continued. You know, you do...
50 years and counting.
Yeah, why not?
Can I ask you about Gimme Shelter? It's my favourite song of all
bless
time.
You. Yeah.
I absolutely adore that song. It's a masterpiece. Were you aware when you were writing that song just how good it was?
Well, as you know, you're never aware. You're just right. You know, you're writing an interesting song. You know that you've got something going here, but whether it is going to strike somebody, you know, in a particular way. No, not aware. I mean, when you're writing it, you're not even hearing actually how you're going to make the record or how it's going to come out. Everybody in the band has got to say, oh, this is interesting.
I've listened to it countless times, and it's an utter masterpiece.
I tell you what, it was a miserable day, just like this in London. Right now, so it was in Mount Street, which is only like a hop, skip and a jump from where we are now. And nothing else to do, and it was grey and rainy, and I was, you know, in one of those moods, you know, and I felt a storm coming. And so sometimes you just pick up on the way you're feeling. You're not even really aware, you're not like intellectually involved with this thing. It's just like, I'm gonna beat the hell out of today. You know? Let's hope that tomorrow is a better day, you know. But oh, bless you. I'm glad, you know, that it grabbed you.
Oh, and it continues to grab me. Every time I put it on, I always turn it up, and I never turn it off, and I always listen from start to finish. It's just one of those tracks. It's also great to drive to.
Yeah.
It's a good one to drive to. It is a driver. It is a driver. Has the process of writing changed for you over the years?
I think not really, because I don't sit, you know. It's not one of those things you say, oh, it's sort of 11 o'clock and it's time to write a song. I know, writing time. I mean, I'm not conditioned that way, you know, programmed. I always have a guitar in the room and I stare at it and it stares at me. And sometimes we get together and...
Do you talk to them?
Yeah, it's like, come on, man, you know, come on, I dare you. And sometimes I ignore him, and I pick him up just to keep my hand in, and start to play like, you know, Buddy Holly songs or something, you know. And after about 10 minutes or so, on a good day, suddenly you go into another program, and suddenly you realise that you're you're actually creating a new song. It's totally different. It's got nothing to do with what you were playing beforehand. It's called the Muse, I think, or something like that. It amuses me. And you never know when it's coming. It just hits you and strikes you, and you just grab it and strike it while the iron's hot, you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you for striking while the iron has been hot many times over the past 50 years.
Bless the irons, right?
Yes. They've been good to you, and you've been good to us, I think. So congratulations on the past 50.
Thanks a lot, pal.
And, here's to many more.
Yeah, why not? Let's drink to the hard-working people, huh?
Indeed. Keith Richards, thank you.
My thanks to you.